It's Hoge Jahns.
Oh, welcome in. Here we go. Here we go again, Adam Johns.
Again?
Well, I mean,
Define again.
It's the theme we have on this show is that no matter how many of these we've done, they always find new and surprising ways to show us how to lose football games.
New and painful.
And this one's got to be right up there at the top of I don't know if it's at the top of the list because they all start to blend together a little bit, but I mean, there's already been some pretty good statistics being thrown out there about how, the different ways in which the Bears became the first team to ever lose a game in the fashion that they did today.
What's the stat? The Bears had like a 98.2% chance of
their win probability.
Winning. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was there. It was up there. But bad teams find new ways to lose is the old cliche, I believe.
Nothing's off the table. Nothing is on the table right now.
Yeah. Well, let's start with this. You were inside the building, and I'm just curious. Yeah, you are. You Adam Johns at Ford Field. By the way, thank you to everybody watching us live here on YouTube as we get to talk about this game and enjoy everything that it was. Tell us what it was like in that side. First of all, it seemed like, even just watching it on TV, that it was a pretty cool atmosphere. And, take away the end result, it was a pretty good football game. And I thought until the end, like, this was headed to be, easily Matt Eberflus's signature win, Ryan Poles' signature win since they came here. But just beyond that, like, what was the feeling? What was the vibe? What was everything like inside the stadium, both before and after the collapse?
In terms of the atmosphere, I don't think I've heard Ford Field this loud. And it's something that we talked about in our preview podcast about how this is the best Lions team that we've covered. Like, they've been okay, but this one has like Super Bowl aspirations right now, like a deep playoff run, like aspirations going for itself right now. So the atmosphere was the loudest I've heard here. I think the players, especially the offensive line and Justin Fields for a bit, struggled with it. That's why you had so many delay a game penalties. Like, they weren't functioning like you need them to, but the environment was to blame. It's the loudest I've ever heard. It was interesting to hear them boo Jared Goff in certain situations. Like, hello, like, come on. It could be a lot worse.
Detroit. Let's not forget it's Detroit. Yeah.
But it could always be worse, I guess. And he's playing at a very high level. So that was fun to hear, especially I think some of that had to deal with, we're playing the Bears, we should beat them up pretty well.
Right.
And Jared Goff is turning the ball over 3 times. But just in terms of the atmosphere, the loudest I've ever heard it here in Ford Field by far.
Yeah. Well, good for them. And if they get to host a playoff game, that's going to be a great atmosphere, no question about it. And Detroit's been through plenty of suffering, so no hard feelings there. Johns, I guess one of the things we talked about on CHGO and I thought about it a lot more on my hour drive home. You heard a lot of talking this week, and not that it was a bad thing. I think it was just coaches and the GM answering questions that were being asked of them. But there's all this discussion this week about what can Justin Fields prove in these final 7 games. And you got, I thought, pretty good answers from Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy. And then on the ESPN 1000 pregame show today, Jeff Joniak talking to Ryan Poles. And, if you were to compile that list, plus you had the Ian Rappaport report that came out this morning too, and you just compile a list of things, and it's like, okay, consistency. Can he make the big play down the stretch? Can he, make that game finishing play? What's it look like in 2-minute drill? All those things. And they didn't let him prove it in the fourth quarter today. He threw 1 pass.
Well, I would say that he almost sort of did prove it with that 1 pass too. I mean, that throw from Justin Fields to Tyler Scott, from my vantage point, was there. that was there. And then you watch the replays. That throw was there. If you watch Tyler Scott slow up on his route, like that's what prevents the connection. That throw is there. After the game in the locker room, Tyler Scott talked about misjudging the ball. I want to say he lost it, but he should not have slowed down in his route. Kept running. That ball was there. It's a play that the Bears have practiced a bunch. Tyler Scott called it routes on air. Throw was there. He beat his man. Clean release. Throw was made. He slows up maybe 75% through his route, and it causes him to dive for the ball. I mean, that throw is there. I know what you're saying, but they trusted that offensive line to eat up 8 minutes and 45 seconds of the clock at one point. Did they not?
Yeah.
That was something.
Well, and for accuracy's sake, there was also the drive. I think it was maybe the third to last drive where Justin Fields dropped back on second down, took a sack. Then on third down, he ends up, I think it was a scramble, running for the first down anyway. It was kind of both the bad and then followed up by the good on 2 back-to-back plays because his check down was wide open on the sack he took. But that was the first sack he took in the game. I'm talking more about, though, Johns, like the second to last drive. Just a boring run up the middle into a loaded box on first down. Why couldn't you run some of the stuff you were running earlier in the game where you had those sprint outs and those rollouts and you're putting Justin Fields in a pretty easy situation where he either makes a short throw, high completion percentage throw where the clock's going to continue to run, or he tucks it and takes it himself and stays in bounds.
So you are talking about the one that I'm talking about, the 3 and out.
Yes, I'm talking about the whole fourth quarter. It just got so conservative. I even down to, and I'm admittedly, I thought about this more on my way home, and I'm flopping from something I said earlier on the CHGO postgame because the more and more I think about it, the kill shot was you're up 9, it's 3rd and 1, they fail to get the first down. They kick the field goal. And right there in that moment, I was actually thinking that was the right call. You go up 12, and that means that they need more. They need 2 touchdowns. They can't do touchdown field goal. They need 2 touchdowns. But on the flip side is if you score a touchdown there and make the 2-point conversion, it's a 3-possession game and the game's over. So go for the win. Go for the win. You're a 3-7 football team on the road against the best team in the division. And it was so conservative.
They held the ball for 8 minutes and 45 seconds. I know what you're saying. Like, maybe I just have a different opinion. Like, being here and seeing them kind of grind that out. You know, I thought that sack he took, like, that's probably one of his worst places to put himself in that 3rd and 15 situation where he's got to scramble for 29 yards, which was an electric play in that moment. I mean, he's out there dancing. The atmosphere kind of shifted in the building with that, right? Like a lot of wind was sucked out of this really raucous crowd, right? I know you settled for a field goal, but 8 minutes, 45 seconds, you held the ball that long in the fourth quarter. Like, to me, that's something. First game back from a dislocated right thumb, to me, that's something. I didn't think they were conservative. I get what you're saying about, like, you knew they were going to run the ball, run, pass, and you could criticize them all you want. You're trying to eat some clock off. I know what you're trying to say, but I like the play call on 3rd and 9. I do. It was a shot play. If to hear them break it down, so what you had was a crossing route from DJ Moore first, right? Did you break down this play?
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
Robber coverage, safety comes up. Next read's going deep to Tyler Scott. Put the ball there, man. The ball was there. The receiver slowed up and misjudged the play.
Yeah, that's fine. I still think it's a low percentage throw in that situation. It's, and it's supposed to go to DJ Moore. I think both Flus and Justin Fields said that. There's just a huge contrast between boring run. The second one was his own read. And then we're just going to go for the home run down the field. I'm talking more about before that when they kicked the field goal to go up 12. And someone else in the comments here brought up a good point that even if you don't end up scoring the touchdown, you're forcing them to use their timeouts if you do get that first down. And you're in plus range. So even if you don't get it, you're still up 9 with plenty of time to go. Maybe it's the same outcome based on how the defense played down the stretch. I just feel like that was your kill shot opportunity, and they didn't take advantage of it. And just overall, that whole fourth quarter, they got really conservative and just one passing attempt. Granted, I think there were 3 dropbacks, but in the fourth quarter, when you hold
that's
on
a
to
misleading stat. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. There's 3 dropbacks, I believe.
Yeah.
3 dropbacks, but that's the whole quarter. You're saying how long they held the ball. It just they got very conservative, and I just thought that was a big reason. Now your defense still has to make a stop, and I think they're thinking,
I know,
oh,
like, isn't it like they're playing outstanding? Well, not defending what they did. I see why they did it. I'm just maybe disagreeing with you in terms of, I mean, to watch them here, like in person, grind out that ball for like 9 minutes straight. To me, that's something the Bears rarely do, like in the game situations.
Well, we're running into a problem here, though, where here's the thing about how you win in the NFL, though, because you're talking about a team that now over 7 games has, at least before today, had been the best rushing defense in football over the last 6 weeks. And then where are they ranking in rushing on offense? I mean, and that's probably going to continue. They're top 4, I think, in rushing on offense.
The Bears.
Yeah, and they're 3-8 on the season. Like, that's great. And you need to be able to run the ball. You need to be able to stop the run. But that can't be the only thing you do, or you're not going to win football games. This is a passing league.
I think the argument, let me hear you out. You need more passing yards than 169. I guess, to me, it's a matter of, well, Justin Fields just came back from dislocated right thumb. It looked like most of this game plan was actually getting him on the move with design runs, read option. And I think that caught the Lions off guard for a bit. They did adjust. That did get slowed down a bit. And then you saw more of the traditional runs. But I guess I just had different expectations heading into this game for Justin Fields in his first game since week 6 on the road in this environment.
Well, what were you expecting?
The Bears to lose from the start.
Yeah.
I mean, did you expect the Bears to have a 26-14 lead with 4 minutes left? Nobody did.
No, but I don't think pregame expectations can diminish how horrible of a collapse.
No, I get it, but it should. They were 8-point dogs for a reason.
Okay, so what do you think the reason is for that they collapsed?
Because their defense couldn't get off the field. You need Jermaine Emmons and his huge contract to stop the running back in the middle of the field.
I agree with that.
Going out of bounds. You cannot have a blown coverage in the secondary where the safety doesn't get over the top on a deep 7 route.
Did Jermaine Emmons
cannot allow 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes and 35 seconds? Did Jermaine Evans get benched? It was Jack Sanborn on the drive, the final possession for the Bears.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I haven't seen Flus's press conference. I don't know what got asked and what didn't, but I was wondering that myself. That was either we don't trust him in his knee right now, or we don't trust him because he missed that tackle. But if you're benching your highly paid Mike linebacker in a crucial moment because you trust the guy that was already here in the first place before you paid that guy, that's pretty damning to me.
Yes. Who was it? It was to Gibbs over the middle on 2nd and 4 from the Bears 45, 3:12 left. Jared Goff pass short middle. The Jahmyr Gibbs ran out of bounds at the 32, and he should have been stopped in the middle of the field to force the Lions into another, at least timeout situation, at least thinking about it, at least hustle up to the line. But yeah, and then the following play was the deep shot where Eddie Jackson, I think it was Eddie Jackson, has to be over the top on that.
You thought the second to last touchdown? Yeah, the replay made it look like it was maybe on Jalen Johnson, but I thought the same thing. Let me rephrase. The replay kind of isolated on Jalen Johnson. So the way they showed it on TV, it was like, oh, Jalen Johnson just got beat for a touchdown. And then going back to how the play originally looked to me, I thought that the safety has to be over the top there in that spot.
Yeah, I want to say Flus after the game kind of confirmed really that on both plays that Jermaine Emmons has to make that tackle in that situation. And then,
well, that's a no-brainer. You make a tackle.
Have to. You get paid to do that, paid a lot to do that. And then to have Jackson not be in position there, I don't know, maybe he was looking to jump something underneath. We'll have to ask him later, but that can't happen. Like you allowed, I know what you're saying about Fields and being conservative. I just look at the clock being eaten up in that situation. But the Bears are up 12 points and allowed 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Like, where's the pass rush? Like, where's the pass rush when you need it the most? They shouldn't have been tired. The Bears held that ball forever in this game.
Well, and that's something I can't judge right now until I go back and watch the film. But I'm also wondering how conservative Flus got with his defensive calls on those last 2 drives. Because off the top of my head, I don't remember a ton of blitzing.
Jack Sanborn had a blitz and a sack, yeah.
And it seemed like, I'm talking about on the last 2 drives.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, because it seemed like they backed up too, and they were letting everything underneath, which, theoretically makes sense. You're trying to let the clock bleed out, but they do have 3 timeouts at the same time. So I don't think you can take the foot off the gas as much as they did. And again, I need to go back and watch the film on those last 2 drives is what I'm saying. Or at least rewatch the game where I can rewind it a little bit to see who's actually coming, who's not. But it just seemed like even defensively, they got a little conservative there.
I think sometimes you want to keep things in front of you. You want to prevent that explosive play. And the Bears have been outstanding actually in preventing those. The tackling, like the yak, the extra yak, like you have to stop St. Brown for a shorter gain than the 16 yards that he got. And he fought and fought to get more yards. And you saw the lines, some of that tenacity that we talked about in the previous podcast really come out. But yeah, I think maybe my expectations were expected the Bears for as well as they've played today, but also the past 6 weeks. Like that is a situation for the defense, for Matt Eberflus to really make a statement and shut this game down as opposed to your quarterback.
Well, and that's why I want to bring in this part of this discussion too, is there's all this talk about like, oh, Justin Fields needs to prove this, and this. And it's like, dude, this coaching staff needs to learn how to win and show that they can win too. I mean, the record, honestly, when we talk about quarterback win-loss record versus coach win-loss record, like it matters way more for the coach, in my opinion. I could think, I think at some point when it's this widespread or, this bad towards the losses, like it does reflect on the quarterback a little bit, but that's a way more important stat for a coach in my mind. And I guess my point is, like, as a coaching staff, you are up 12 points or you're up 9 and you have to make a tough decision to go up 12 or try to go for the touchdown and try to ice it. Like these are all things that count towards your job security too. Not just the quarterbacks, if that makes sense. And I just found it a little frustrating, Johns, after all this talk about what Justin Fields needs to show this week, that you got there in the fourth quarter and then you got so conservative to me. And I get they had the one deep shot. Great. And Justin did a good job with that. Great. It should count as a win for him in terms of making that play. But I don't know. I would have let Justin do a little bit more. And I'm not just talking about throwing. I'm talking about just put the ball in his hands. Let him run with it instead of hand the ball up off the middle. Just put the defense is scared of Justin. That's who they're game planning against. Put the ball in your best player's hands.
To your point, the second one was a read option. And he explained just in terms of what the lines were showing that it was give all the way.
Yeah.
They had 5 men on the line and the fourth guy was kind of outside. So everything that he said after the game was telling him in that moment to give the ball. The read option worked earlier. Obviously, the Lions were playing the run at that situation. To your point, though, maybe you try some of those quarterback sweeps that they were doing earlier, something like that. Spread them out, QB draw. Like, I get it. The Lions read run, and they read it right in that situation.
Well, and that's that's actually a good example of exactly what I'm talking about. Because, okay, read option, we've seen basically this whole season teams take that away from the Bears by they're going to play Fields. They're going to force Fields to hand the ball off. So I don't know why that would be any different in that situation. So you basically know it's going to be a give. Well, they put 9 guys in the box to stop the give. So you got to have something off of that. Have a boot. Have something where even if it's Fields running for 6 yards on his own or making a short throw to Cole Kmet or something like that, a high percentage throw where the clock's not going to stop. Just things like that. That's all. I just.
Well, I think your complaint should be first down then. Like if you're
that is
the nuance of it. Yes, be
it's
more aggressive.
Both. It's both of those plays. I think zone read is a lazy run play where you're kind of putting it in Fields' hands. Give him a full straight run in the biggest moment of the game, or on first down, same thing. Like just a straight give up the middle. I don't know. It was frustrating to watch that last sequence, and I think fans feel the same way.
Ball was there.
Yeah.
Ball was there.
All right. What other thoughts do you have from just being in that? What was the locker room like? I can't imagine it was a joyous place.
There was some optimism. Well, Cole Kmet was. I think he's had enough. I mean, you could ask him when's he on your show next. Like, this is getting to him
Tuesday. Yeah,
like these are close games, but it's clearly not enough for Cole. I think Fields was happy in his first game back, but the loss stinks. DJ Moore happy to have Justin Fields back, but the loss stinks. I think the shock was amongst the defensive players where they had their opportunity to close the door, like had the opportunity to actually multiple opportunities throughout this game. If you're thinking about like Jalen Johnson missing 2 interceptions, like multiple opportunities in this game to really shut the door on the Lions, and they didn't. So that's the vibe I got in the locker room. There's some optimism. Hey, we just played with one of the best teams, not only in our division, but the entire NFC. Like, okay, that's something, but close isn't cutting it anymore, especially amongst those defensive players. Like, this is one they should have had, and they know it.
Yeah. And I thought they were beating the Lions at their own game. You know what I mean? Like they were the tougher, grittier, right? They have grit written all over their Lions facility. Like the Bears were beating the Lions at their own game today. And it was very impressive. I mean, we were this close to doing a much different post-game show where we were talking about the most impressive win of the Poles Flus era. And instead we're talking about just an historic collapse, which is why, you and I were in agreement. I think we still are. I'm not changing right now, but when you made the bold prediction that Flus was going to be the head coach still next year, I tend to agree with you. But I'm also telling Mark Carman and Greg Braggs Jr. every single day, can we not make grand conclusions until this whole thing plays out? Because you and I have covered this team long enough to know a lot can still happen in these final 7 games. And guess what? Game 1 of the final 7 games, there was a lot of good. Like maybe 98% of the game was good. But the other 2%, and I'm just going off the win probability the Bears had, the other 2%, historic collapse. That matters.
This one feels to me more on Matt Eberflus and the defense. If I'm being honest, like first game back for Justin Fields, thumb, bloody finger, tough defense, tough environment, played well enough to win. 12-point lead with 4 minutes left. This one's on Matt Eberflus in the defense, where if you're Ryan Poles and you have some questions or concerns, like why couldn't my coach close this one out?
Yeah. Right, exactly. And it's just the fact that Flus runs the defense now too, even more so to that point. I mean, I think it's both the head coaching decisions down the stretch and then also the fact that his defense faltered as well. Herb Howard perhaps said, was the point I was trying to make earlier. Maybe he did it more concise and better. He had a comment a few minutes ago. Our guy Herb jumping in here, watching the show. Appreciate you as always, buddy. He said, you're trying to figure out if Fields is a closer. Then the opportunity presents itself and you take the ball away from him. Shake my head. So I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at too. It would have been nice to see the ball in Fields' hands on first down and second down. And then even the drive before that, 3rd and 4th down, go close the game there when you have the chance. Missed opportunity, regardless of who you're going to put the blame on.
Well, this evaluation isn't closed yet. I mean, there's 6 games left.
Right. Well, I mean, individually, I would call today a W for Justin Fields for his future with the Chicago Bears. Matt Eberflus, I'd say an L. Jalen Johnson getting his contract extension, or at least the amount of money he wants, L. You can't drop that pick six.
Make the 93-yard pick six.
And then he had a second opportunity after he goes to the
7-yard maybe pick six.
So he goes to the bench. He does push-ups. Okay, great. And then he has a second opportunity later in the game. He doesn't make that pick either. That was a little bit tougher. It wasn't but the first one was going to be a pick six. No one was catching him. And instead, the Lions score on the very next play. That was a tough one. So you're talking about Jalen Johnson dropping a pick six. You're talking about Tremaine Edmonds with just an awful missed tackle in the middle of the field. And you're talking about Eddie Jackson not being in position on a touchdown. Those are three of your best defensive players. Two of them who are very highly paid, not making the plays down the stretch. And
one who wants to be.
Right. And quite frankly, credit the Lions. They're the team that in the middle of last season figured out how to win. And they've done nothing but win since. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team. It certainly didn't look like one today, if we're being honest. But they were grittier in those final 4 minutes and got the win because they made the plays to do it. The Bears are still trying to figure out how to be that team.
So week-to-week league, how about a booming punt from your guy Trenton Gill in a key moment?
You're saying you want that? Or
yes.
Yeah, he punt the ball in the end zone for a touchback. I was really upset about it.
Even in the fourth quarter, like, how about put some real air on that ball?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And ironically, the special teams takeaway they got on the kickoff, that was a bad kickoff. It was a low line drive. It's like exactly what you don't want. And then they just happened to force the fumble and get the ball back. So they got a little lucky there, but bailed their kicker out, who's been outstanding. And Cairo Santos was still automatic.
Yeah.
Today in Detroit, 53-yarder and 2 more after that. He did his part. But at some point, you got to win through the air. You got to win with touchdowns. You can't just settle for field goals over and over and over again and run the ball and expect to win. You can't do that in today's NFL. You're going to lose games. That's what the Bears did today. All right, any final thoughts from Detroit? I know you got to go to dinner.
I do. Do we have to get through these super chats real quick?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we got some super chats. Let's see him real quick. All right, Miles, $4.99. I'm feeling better than I did earlier. Just had to remind myself I didn't expect them to win. Thank you guys for making my Sundays better, win or lose. Thank you, Miles. I like that avatar too. Rebuilding since '86. It's well done. All day 97, $4.99. I've seen enough. Bears were competitive and Fields played well. We keep the regime and the QB for at least another year. Fishman for president.
Oh,
wow. Okay. Kellen Thomas, $9.99. Warren should ask Poles one question at the end of the season. Is Flus on the right track? If yes, it's grounds for immediate termination for terrible evaluation. Also, did you see Marty Bennett tweet about the Bears? I did not see Martellus Bennett tweet
there's
about
another question about that as well.
About Martellus Bennett?
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to. Oh, thank you. Kent's bringing it up for us. Marty, who I know has feelings here. Bears ownership lacks futurism. The entire business model is built on selling the past. The 85 Bears, they're always trying to recreate that old product instead of buying into and producing a new product. He goes on to say the owners are okay with losing a game, but not the brand built on the past. The Bears need an entire rebrand, top to bottom, and they need ownership that is going to transition the organization into the future. They never protect their players publicly. You can't trust the organization as a player because you can't relate to the leadership. They can't communicate with the youth. Their audience is a legacy audience, and they're afraid of changing because they don't want to lose out on those legacy fans that make them money. Nostalgia is the greatest marketing tool. I'd be interested in seeing fan growth of the Chicago Bears. How many more tweets are there? This goes on for a while. I think we get the point. But that was a long thread from Martellus Bennett. And
maybe that's a podcast for another day, but I mean, Martellus Bennett has been part of the Bears since what, 2016, 15?
Yeah.
When Ryan Pace determined that he was a problem and had to trade him, but I don't know.
Yeah, but
I will say, I think to his point, having kids of football fan age, winning does not help breed fandom, or when losing does not help breed fandom, especially in this fantasy football world where you have access to information about other players. I mean, you see it all around Chicago. There's too many kids in the Chicagoland area right now wearing Justin Jefferson jerseys. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, well, and I'll just say this about Marty, like, because I got to know him while he was here, and you know, he played for the Patriots, he played for the Packers, he played for the Cowboys, he played for the Giants, and he played for the Bears. Okay, so he got a good taste of how all these organizations are different, and he's also a pretty smart businessman too. So I think there's some truth to what he's saying there. It's those are the types of tweets where if I'm Kevin Warren and I see that or that comes across my desk, that's a phone call I want to make to at least understand where he's coming from, because I don't think Martellus Bennett is just randomly tweeting that stuff just to get a reaction.
Let him put his cartoon up on Family Fest on the big screens.
What's that?
Didn't the Bears let him put his cartoon up on the big screens at Family Fest?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah,
come on, you remember that?
Yeah,
100% happened.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you remember that? You never go to Family Fest.
That was like the last time I went to Family
Fest.
Okay,
that must have been one I missed. I don't.
No, they 100% let him put his cartoon up at Family Fest.
Yeah, but that's not his point. That's not what that personal.
I know what he's trying to say, but
yeah.
I think winning cures everything.
All right. You seem hangry. I'm gonna let you go to dinner. I think that's it for super chats.
It is.
All right. Are you going to our place in Detroit?
About to.
Okay, I'm jealous. I will say that. That's one of the best restaurants. It's probably my favorite of all the cities. There's definitely cities I prefer to go to, but that's probably my favorite restaurant to go to.
Yes, it is. It's one of the best ones.
Yeah. So, all right. We're out of here. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns, at Hoge Jahns, and you can read all of Johnsy's coverage on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. You can find me on CHGO and get my newsletter, allchgo.com. Become a diehard there. Also, the voicemail line open, 872-205-6022, and I'm sure the voicemails from today will be fun. Those will be on Tuesday's show. We might have a special guest coming up on Tuesday too. We're working on, so we'll try to confirm that with you in the next couple of days. But we'll let this marinate for a couple of days. Bears now going to Monday Night Football next week in Minnesota. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
See ya.